What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at last night's episode of the Blue Brand, as well as the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know, including Stephanie McMahon and Triple H's new job, WWE's banned images, Sting done with the WWE, Vince McMahon's favourite wrestlers right now, The Undertaker's daughter's Halloween tribute, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now, as always, we won't recap the show, but just provide you with the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As always, we start off with the good is number 1, Jey Uso's heel turn. Now, although Jey Uso's heel turn wasn't unexpected, it was well executed nevertheless, with Jey adapting "if you can't beat them, join them" mentality by submitting to Roman Reigns' authority as the tribal chief. They've done a great job building up Jey as a single star during his program against Reigns, and his heel turn should help Jey's singles push further if his success against Daniel Bryan tonight is any hint. The turn's effectiveness was amplified by Reigns' portrayal as a calculating heel who knows how to manipulate people to get what he wants, in this case making Jey Uso say "I quit" at Hell in a Cell by targeting Jey's brother Jimmy. This entire segment is an example of how you can build up multiple characters with one angle, which leads to our next highlight on Smackdown. Number 2, building Bryan vs Roman. It looks like Roman Reigns will be facing Daniel Bryan next as the WWE continues Roman's reign as Universal Champion. Now, only recently we discussed the lack of credible challenges for Roman, noting how some pundits such as Dave Meltzer felt Bryan was the best choice for Reigns' next opponent. Now it looks like Bryan is going to have his hands full not only dealing with Roman Reigns, but now with Jey Uso, who has quickly become a solid single star. While we're pretty sure Bryan won't win the Universal Championship, he could keep things moving as the WWE works to set up Reigns vs The Rock at WrestleMania 37, although there's no word on whether this will happen or not. Number 3, 2 star-crossed lovers. Yes, we can probably hear the groans in the comments down below already, but the WWE's Murphy and Aaliyah romance story continued last night, proclaiming her love for Murphy as Seth Rollins' former disciple and apparently now a babyface conquered the power of love. Now, while some fans may see this as a sappy soap opera, the reality is that romance angles are always popular in the WWE, such as Otis and Mandy's storyline romance, and the WWE is doing a good job incorporating the couple's story of 2 crazy kids, one 19-year-old woman and a 32-year-old man, that's a story for another day, in love with the ongoing feud between the Mysterios and Seth Rollins. Having Seth Rollins come out and give his blessing to the couple while Dominic and Rey Mysterio are trying to get Aaliyah to leave Murphy is fantastic foreshadowing to where things are going and a good way to get more mileage out of the Mysterio vs Rollins feud. Also, it gives somebody as talented as Murphy a chance to stay in the spotlight. Otherwise, if they didn't set up this program, what else would be reserved for Murphy, as he would have most certainly faded away back into the background. Number 4, a good mix of wrestling and interviews. Last night's Smackdown featured a good mix of wrestling and interviews, giving a number of superstars time to put on good matches, showcase their skills, and further storylines. This is booking 101, but as fans know, they don't seem to do this on a regular basis, instead throwing out meaningless matches over silly segments that do nothing to get a wrestler over. Number 5, women weren't ignored. Now, the WWE has been doing a bad job of ignoring its female superstars on SmackDown, except for Propel the Sasha Banks and Bayley feud, but thankfully that trend has stopped. This week's match between Bianca Belair, Natalya and Billie Kay was a great way to give all 3 time in the ring and push Belair, someone who should be getting prepped for a run at the top of the women's division. Naturally, Smackdown also focused on the still ongoing program between Sasha Banks and Bayley, and it should be intriguing how they forward this feud after Banks' decisive defeat over Bayley at Hell in a Cell. The feud's only going to get started, but the question of where it goes from here could be a fun one to see answered. That was the good. What about the bad? As we've only got one bad, to be fair, Lars Sullivan's push. Now, was that Lars Sullivan last night, or did the WWE happen to bring back Val Venus? Come on, it's not just me who sees the similarities. But all jokes aside, we have to give WWE credit at least for working to try and get Lars Sullivan over by having Corey Graves interview him in order to add some depth to his role as a monster heel. While Graves did a good job interviewing Sullivan, the sad reality is that Graves has nothing to work with. Actually, the WWE is an uphill battle trying to get Sullivan over, as so far he's shown nothing special in the ring, and quite frankly, he's a cookie-cutter monster heel who reminds us of past failed projects such as Heidenreich, Snitsky, and Nathan Jones. Maybe Sullivan will improve over time, but right now WWE's focus on him at the expense of other superstars seems like an all-around bad move. Nothing downright ugly of last night's Smackdown, so get that out of your head. It was actually a solid night for the Blue brand as things are back on track after last week's poor go-home show for Hell in a Cell. Last night's show featured a good blend of matches and interviews that gave various stars the right type of exposure and an opportunity to forward storylines entertaining fans from start to finish. It's no wonder that they actually had a boost in the ratings from last night's show, as according to Fightful Wrestling, Smackdown averaged 2.13 million viewers, up 881,000 viewers from last week's episode. But what did you guys think of Smackdown? Let us know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to the news. Our first story looks at Stephanie McMahon's new job. Stephanie McMahon has been busy as the WWE's chief brand officer, and it looks like she's only going to get busier. The WWE had its Q3 earnings report, and Vince McMahon revealed that his daughter Stephanie has increased responsibilities and enhanced her position to enhance growth. According to a report from PW Mania regarding Stephanie's new responsibilities, word going around WWE HQ is that global sales and partnerships now fall under Stephanie's purview, according to PW Insider. This includes sponsorships and other relationships for the company. John Brody, who has been working as head of WWE's Global Sales and Partnerships division, is still with the WWE and in the same role, but now he's reporting directly to Stephanie. Stephanie reportedly took over these new responsibilities in August, but her involvement was not publicly announced until the Q3 2020 earnings call. Now, you may recall rumors Stephanie was asked to take over Raw's creative side, but she's turned down the offer to continue with her current role. Next up, speaking of new jobs, does Triple H have one as SmackDown's new writer? There were reports on Friday that SmackDown writers were still trying to get Vince's approval for the script on Thursday night, leading to the backstage chaos you'd expect with the show just a day away. But Ringside News' Steve Carrier tweeted, "Bruce Pritchard wasn't at SmackDown this week. We were told Triple H was around and he had a big influence on the Ray Murphy, Alia Dominic and the Jey Uso vs Daniel Bryan stuff. Thank you, Triple H." If true, are you happy with Triple H's role on the Blue brand? Should he start writing permanently? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, who the WWE has listed as banned in the Thunderdome. Now, thanks to Healed by Nature, who managed to snap this photo backstage at the Thunderdome, it shows a document right next to it with a number of wrestlers' faces and images which are banned from being shown in the Thunderdome. Now, it's pretty hard to make out, but thankfully Healed by Nature has given us a list of who they are. That being AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Enzo Amore, man, that dude can't cut a break, he can't even show up on the Thunderdome. Cody Rhodes, interesting as they let Kenny Omega in, Marty Scurll, The Young Bucks, Chris Benoit, obvious, CM Punk, Jim Cornette, Alberto Del Rio, and Ryback. Are you surprised by any of these images that have been banned from the Thunderdome? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up is Sting done with WWE. Some more interesting news concerning WWE Hall of Famer Sting's status with the promotion, as PW Insider is reporting that WWE has taken down the Stinger's merchandise from the WWE shop website. Now, you may recall reports last May that Sting was no longer under contract with the WWE. Barring Sting asking for an exorbitant price for a Legends contract, the WWE would likely want to keep him from signing with AEW, as an appearance there could give the promotion a boost with WCW fans. Next up, a big rumor as a big name could be appearing at AEW's Full Gear pay-per-view. Now, in light of Sting's status and recent commercial for AEW's Full Gear event, there's talk of the Stinger showing up. Wrestling News' Paul Davis speculated that the Stinger might show up at AEW's 7th November Full Gear pay-per-view, as the promotion is teasing a surprise appearance there. Davis pointed out how the commercial features a number of previous debuts in AEW, including Jake Roberts, Brody Lee, Lance Archer, Mike Tyson, Miro, and others, raising the possibility of Sting being the latest newcomer to AEW. It's unknown if Sting can or would wrestle, but he has talked about his willingness to step out of retirement if he could face The Undertaker. And while that won't happen in AEW, would Sting find someone else he'd consider worth his time, not to mention his health? Next up are Vince's current favourite WWE wrestlers. Now, as fans know, Vinnie Mac is constantly changing whom he wants to push, strapping a rocket to a wrestler, then hitting the self-destruct button on their push without a second thought. Just think of names like Ricochet, Humberto Carrillo, and Apollo Crews. But according to Ringside News' Steve Carrier, Vince does not have many favourites. Trying to be a bit positive for a change, so we asked who are Vince McMahon's favourites. We were told there's no real way to know because his opinion changes so often. Besides Orton, Roman and Heyman, Street Profits, and New Day, Vince doesn't seem to like anything. An interesting list, and bad news for a number of superstars if they've fallen off Vince's radar or worse, made his hit list. And finally, we look at the Undertaker's daughter's Halloween tribute to him. And last but not least, Michelle McCool shared a post on Instagram of her and the Undertaker's daughter Kaya dressed up as the dead man for Halloween and choking out her famous father. Apparently, the couple's daughter Kaya has a newfound respect for her dad as she recently sat down to watch the Last Ride docuseries, and appearing on The Bump, Michelle McCool revealed, "It was really cool to see, it'll be something that we will have forever. I think it was neat for our 8-year-old, as much crap as she gives her daddy, I think it was pretty cool to see how much he's done. She likes to just think that he constantly sits around the house and does nothing, and we have to tell her, look kid, he worked really hard for 30 years straight." But there you have it guys, the good, the bad and the downright ugly from last night's Smackdown, as well as the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.